Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
And you got Luke.
Luke, today we're going to be looking at supercars.
And I have to admit, I'm probably most excited about this one than kind of any one we've ever done before. Because I don't know about, not ever before, but ever since I was a kid, I loved supercars.
That's good because I don't really know anything about cars.
You didn't like want like a Lamborghini when you were a kid, or?
No. I always liked Mustangs. I thought they were pretty cool.
We'll get into that in a second.
All right. So let's talk about what a supercar is.
What is a supercar, James?
Apparently, it's a luxury, high-performance sports car, and it can be broken into perhaps 4 categories.
Okay.
Limited production from elite automakers like Ferrari, like you said, or Lamborghini, or other words I can't pronounce. Modified standard cars to improve power and performance.
Okay.
Smaller manufacturer models for specific enthusiast groups, so people that really like a certain type of car or really fast cars or something like that. Or a one-of-a-kind showcase car, kind of like...
Almost like a concept car.
Like a concept car.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I feel like these all fall into the supercar category.
Yeah, the other thing too that you'll find with most supercars that I did the research on is at least current ones and even older ones, they always leverage the most recent technology.
Okay, that makes sense.
So like nowadays, everything's carbon fiber. Nowadays, they typically are all mid-engine vehicles.
Is that so?
Most of them are, and they do mid-engine because just handling characteristics, mid-engine vehicles just handle better.
Can you say what a mid-engine vehicle is for our listeners like me who don't know anything about cars?
So like what you drive is a big old truck, and I drive a big old truck too. And
That's the technical term.
Yeah, and these are traditional. The engine is in the front, so it's a front engine vehicle. And then if you think of like a Volkswagen Rabbit, like way back in the day, like a VW, that was a rear engine vehicle in the back of the vehicle. Mid-engine literally is in the middle of the vehicle, typically towards the back, so it's typically directly behind the driver and passenger seat. And when you have that center and that mass in the center of the vehicle, handling characteristics are going to just be improved just because of the placement of that kind of mass.
So with this, and when I was going through my research, it kind of dawned on me that the future of these supercars, kind of like a lot of cars, might be electric because of the reduction in weight and the placement of the battery.
Yeah, super low.
Super low. It can be anywhere you want. And one of the cars we'll talk about eventually, or maybe 2 of them, actually kind of fall in that category.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's super cool.
And the last thing is nowadays, almost all supercars are all-wheel drive. And again, because they typically need to be super handling vehicles, you know, all-wheel drive is going to be superior in almost all cases to only front or only rear wheel.
Okay. So before we get into anything else, I think we should look at some terms.
Yes.
And the first one that I was kind of caught off guard by, I thought they were kind of the same thing, would be supercar versus muscle car.
Yes. Muscle car. Your Mustang that you said you liked growing up, that is a muscle car.
Or at least at some point it was.
Yeah, so yeah. Oh, I think nowadays...
I think it's back. I think it had a bad stretch there for a while.
It did when they were putting V6s in them, and it kind of looked like a grocery getter sports car. But so the biggest difference between a muscle car and a supercar is muscle cars in most cases are far more affordable. They're typically a vehicle that's rear-wheel drive. So if you think of like currently, it would probably be like the current Camaro, the current Mustang. If you think of older cars, it would probably be like a GTO.
I like the GTO.
Yeah, the Chevelle, those kinds of vehicles. And these were typically, they were more affordable, they were self-built. It was always, you know, folks in their garage building their vehicles, kind of scrapping parts together. And it was almost always about straight line speed. So this was, you didn't care necessarily about handling, you didn't care necessarily about the looks of the vehicle, albeit I think they all look pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest difference is affordability and the fact that it was straight line speed.
Okay, so that's good. One more thing, the Firebird. What was that?
The Firebird would be considered a muscle car.
That was a muscle car? Sure. Okay. I think those looked pretty cool too. Yeah. They don't do that anymore, right?
Yeah.
I guess Pontiac's all the way gone, right?
Yeah, and the other difference is back in like the 60s and 70s, kind of that heyday of muscle cars. The big difference then was most supercars were European manufacturers and most muscle cars were American manufacturers in most cases.
Okay, fair enough. All right, a few more terms for us to get into.
Yep.
And these are kind of words that I've known or that I saw in the past, and I was like, okay, yeah, I guess it makes sense. But I didn't really know what they were for sure or what they did. So the first one that comes up on, I would say, every one of these cars, that seems like a safe bet, is turbo.
Yep.
Or turbocharger. So this is a turbine, not a turbine. Every episode that I use
you
this.
do that.
Turbine-driven forced induction device. But really what it does is it increases the combustion engine's efficiency and power, right? So forcing extra air into the combustion chamber, creating more power, making your car more efficient.
Yep.
Sound about right? Mm-hmm. And, I mean, normal cars have turbos, too.
Yeah, there's a
When
lot
I say normal cars.
Yeah, like you can buy cars nowadays that have turbos built into them. But the turbos that these folks are speaking of are
totally different.
Totally different.
Or the same, but not even in the same class.
And they have multi-stage turbos where you have a turbo that feeds a turbo.
Yeah, that's
Sometimes
ridiculous.
there's two separate turbos.
That's what I was just going to talk about is the twin turbo next, or the bi-turbo. So it's designed in a couple of different ways. So either one where it's in parallel and the turbochargers are fed one half of the engine and then the other half of the engine with the other one, or where one fires and then the other one fires.
Yeah.
So sequential. There we go.
You got it.
Turbochargers. And that reduces the turbo lag. And I guess you need to have your car set up properly to be able to handle that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it might fall apart.
Well, I mean, you're putting a lot of extra stress on any vehicle the minute you're adding turbochargers or superchargers.
Yeah. So another one I wanted to throw in there, and this was kind of for you, was the compressor.
Yeah.
Because I think we talked about this in one of our car episodes, and you were talking about the cold air.
Yeah.
Have you done that yet? Was that what I was getting at?
I haven't. I haven't done it.
Maybe that's a next summer project.
That's going to be a summer project.
Okay.
I don't have a garage.
So it increases the mass of intake air entering the combustion chamber, and that's what that is. The spoiler.
So let me talk about spoilers for a second.
Uh-oh.
Any person that has a daily driver
that has a
spoiler on their car, you're an idiot.
Aw, that's a little hurtful.
It does nothing. You're not going fast
I was
enough.
going to say, but it looks cool, but I don't think that even does that.
I had one. My old
course you
Impreza.
did.
Of course I did. They look cool, but it's just, spoilers do nothing.
Right. So
at that level
the
of vehicle.
intention of the spoiler is for aerodynamics and for downward force.
And downforce is, and why is it important in a supercar?
What?
Why is
because they're light and you need to be smashed against the road to have control?
You got to make sure that those wheels have as much, not too much downward force, but enough to keep them grounded.
Especially with how light they're making the cars and how fast you're traveling. And that kind of gets me to the next thing, which I think is, at least to me, because I'm a nerd, the most interesting thing I found was the active rear spoiler.
Is this one that moves?
Yeah, this thing moves based on the downward force and the speed that you're traveling at. So it optimizes the airflow at the rear of the car as you speed up, which is awesome. So it automatically moves. That's intelligent. Intelligent design.
So one of my old neighbors had this Honda Civic. And he had a spoiler.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with our Honda Civic audience.
Right.
But he had a spoiler that stuck up off the back of his car about 12 inches.
Yeah.
It was the most ridiculous looking thing.
Did it look like sheet metal on there too?
It was.
Like it was screwed on?
It was on with like hot glue and like bolts. It was the worst thing ever.
Oh my goodness, I love that. All right, so with that, I think I'm done with terms. Do you have any others you want to throw in there?
No more terms, but do you want to do a little bit of history?
Absolutely, I love history.
So the earliest mention of a supercar was...
Let me guess, it was on a caveman drawing.
No, it was not on a caveman drawing. Yeah, it was Fred Flintstone had to put a spoiler. So in 1920, there was a car called the Ensign 6. Never heard of it before. I'd looked it up, but basically, imagine like an old Bentley. It was basically a competitor to a Bentley.
Oh, okay.
And
Sounds cheap.
It was in a magazine, and the magazine actually used the term supercar to reference this Ensign 6 vehicle. and that was the first ever mention of the word supercar
That's
with
cool.
relationship to a vehicle.
I feel like that's a good word to have tagged to you. Like, you're the one who came up with that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But we don't hear of Ensigns,
Well,
6s,
clearly they
but
did
Bentley, definitely, we still hear those
Apparently
cats.
we know who won the competition.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so what's next?
You want to do a little bit of history on some of the different cars?
I do.
Okay, so...
Are these all big names that I'm going to know?
So it's interesting. Some of them totally disappear, and some of them are still around. And what I have is a quick list of the all-time top 10 supercars.
Wow.
So this is current. This is like way back in the olden days.
I feel like this is a very subjective list then. Because how can you compare something that comes out tomorrow with something that came out 50 years ago?
This is wildly subjective because even whenever, I'm sure you found this, when you and I were doing our research, like whenever I looked at the fastest, no one can even agree on who is the fastest or who has the most horsepower, or who is the most expensive, just because these vehicles are kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
I'm actually going to start at number 5, and we'll go down to the number 1. So this is all time. And the first one is the Mercedes-Benz, who we all know and love.
Love Mercedes.
The SSK. So this thing was around from 1928 to 1932. Awesome looking vehicle. Look at it. So all these vehicles, I really encourage you to Google these because they're all like amazing looking vehicles. Number 4 is, this is surprising, Fiat. And I can't pronounce this word. It's
Fiat, huh?
Fiat, the Mephistopheles. I can't. I'm horrible. Sorry.
At least you did it instead of me for a change.
Yeah. So this was 1923. So in 1923, it was now it's crazy how big the liters were in these vehicles. So it was a 21.7 liter vehicle. Now they're like 2.57 liter, and they're getting crazy horsepower. But it was a huge engine, but it produced 320 horsepower.
Wow.
And it was one
in
of
1923.
In 1923, and it was one of the land speed record holders, obviously until it was beat by the next vehicle. Yeah.
Speaking of land speed record, though, that's one of the topics we've been discussing doing, just like the history of it, the changes that were made to make it happen. I think that would be a cool one.
So the next one is the Stutz Bearcat. I love the name. You got to love the name Stutz Bearcat. So this was in 1912, and it actually raced in the Indy 500, and the only car that was faster than it was a Mercedes. So
impressive.
Interesting. The Mercer Rackerbout? Raceabout? The Mercer Raceabout, 1910. This was a 5-liter 4-cylinder engine. It had 56 horsepower at 1900 RPM.
It had 56 horsepower?
Yeah, but again, you're thinking, this is back in 1910. Come on.
Okay.
It could hit 70. So it's not always about horsepower and speed.
Well, maybe not in 1910.
Maybe not in 1910.
So this is number 2 on the list of all time.
Again, this is
okay,
I didn't pick them. This was someone else's
Let's
list.
hear number 1.
And then the number 1 is the Blitzen Benz.
I like the name. That's a good name.
I love the name.
Back in when?
So this was in 1909.
Oh, goodness.
And this was a predecessor to the Daimler Benz. Obviously, you recognize the name. So Daimler Benz merged later on. And it held the land speed record of 142 miles per hour.
Wow.
From 1909 to 1919.
So you're telling me that in 1910, the 56 horsepower car could not go faster? Boy, what a shock.
The 56 horsepower can only do 70 miles per hour.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
So that's my... And again, this is subjective. There's definitely better vehicles out there.
All right,
now.
but these are kind of like history setters.
Most of these are historical supercars. So they're on the list not only for speed and horsepower, but again, looking at what land speed records, styling, technology.
Okay.
So just because they weren't the fastest, most horsepower, It was a combination of multiple characteristics that put them into this list.
All right. So with that, let's take a break for a word from our sponsor.
I love that we got a sponsor this
Oh
week.
my goodness.
Or don't
so we don't actually have an official sponsor as per the usual, but I did want to give a couple shout outs. One is to Nick M, who emailed in.
Nicky M.
Yeah, he's a CAD dude looking for work. So how about somebody hire him?
Yeah.
I assume he's good or bad.
If
I
he's
don't know.
listening to us,
Yeah.
he's got to be
But
great.
he is filling his downtime with this, so I kind of hope he doesn't get a job so that he keeps listening.
Yeah.
Does that mean to say? Self-serving.
Yes.
Anyways, another shout out to Ben Y. I'm actually going to call him Ben Young because he is of youngsolutions.net.
Nice.
Go there for all of your manufacturing needs. I was checking out their webpage. You actually emailed via our website, unprofessionalengineering.com, and asked how much it is to sponsor. So I need to write back to him and be like, big bucks, buddy. We're loaded.
Yeah, they do some pretty interesting stuff. You sent me the link, and I was
Yeah.
checking out their website. They do, it looks like a lot of custom machine design type stuff. So
Yeah, so any custom machine
Check 'em
design
out.
you're looking for, youngsolutions.net.
check them out.
Give them a plug. Anyways, we are running our sticker contest. If you subscribe, and please do subscribe,
Yes.
email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com, and we will hook you up with some amazing stickers.
Yeah, and I have to say again, we got some sweet new stickers coming for Autodesk University 2017. They're in a top secret vault right now.
They are
but
impressive.
they're going to be really cool looking stickers. So if you happen to be attending Autodesk University, you take a selfie with us, use the hashtag AU2017. You're going to get a sticker. You might get a T-shirt. We got all kinds of craziness
sorts of
happening
goodness.
at AU 2017
right.
this year.
One more thing. Please give us reviews on the iTunes.
Yeah,
I
we
can't
don't do
stress
good on
this enough.
iTunes unless you get good reviews.
Right. If you
apparently.
don't get a lot of reviews, we're 5-star on iTunes. We do well with the reviews we have. We
you
have a
need more- you
tight-knit
need more of
community,
them.
but we need more of them. So please
Volume.
go on there, give us some reviews, say these guys are amazingly funny, very good looking, and intelligent, and then they will give us big bucks. So that's that.
Yes.
Moving on. The next thing on my list, Luke, is the 10 most expensive supercars.
I want to see if yours matches mine. Because
And again, you said they don't, right?
I'm sure they don't because these websites, there's so much going on in this supercar kind of arena that any website you go to is
Yeah.
going to list different stuff.
Okay, well, I'm going to blow through my top 10.
Okay.
How about that? And this is the 2017 most
What
expensive.
order are you going in?
I'm going from number 1 down to number 10. So the most expensive to the least
least expensive.
that any schmo could buy.
Okay.
The first one, I don't know how to say it, the Koenigsegg?
I think I've heard them just say Koenig.
Koenig, okay.
Yeah.
CCXR Trevita? 4.8 liter, dual supercharged. See, we know what these words mean because
Now
we
we
went
do.
through our terms. V8, 1,004 horsepower, 797 foot-feet of torque. Woo! So why is it so expensive, Luke?
I'm guessing the whole thing is made out of carbon fiber and it comes with a pony.
It does not come with a pony, but it
Okay.
should. I bet you could get that thrown in. It has proprietary diamond weave in the coating the carbon fibers
What?
with a diamond dust impregnated resin.
That's stupid.
Yeah, isn't that ridiculous? So it must be super
So
strong,
there's
right?
people in the world that don't have food and water, and these idiots are making cars with diamond dust in the carbon.
$4.8 million. Did I
Take
say
some of that diamond dust out and give it to people that need food and water.
There you go.
Sorry,
Luke's a real humanitarian today.
makes me mad.
At $4.5 million, a name I've heard, Lamborghini
Yeah.
Veneno?
We could ask Jay.
Well,
Jay
ask
knows
Jay.
all of the. Yeah,
He'd
Jay.
be so
number
angry
one,
about
he's.
this
I know he's
episode.
going to be
Oh,
angry. Number
gosh.
one, he's Italian and he knows how to pronounce all these
Yeah,
Italian
he probably
words.
has 3 of these in his
I'm
garage.
sure.
It's a 6.5 liter V12, which just seems ridiculous to me.
Yes.
It gets up to 8,400 RPM, 740 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds.
1,000, 2, 1,000. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
like,
crazy.
really fast. Next, at 3.4, I have the Lykan Hypersport,
Okay.
which sounds just lovely to me. It was apparently in Furious 7. And now I believe that is part of the Fast and the Furious group of movies.
So there's a whole list of movies that are too stupid for me to watch.
Oh, I've seen none of them, but I
Good.
know the one dude died.
Yeah.
And they just like CGI'd him into the movies.
And his
then.
brother, who
And
looks
his
just
brother.
like him,
Yeah.
stepped in.
Yeah,
They did have some
that's a good
sweet
gift.
cars in that movie. Like
I don't
I've
know,
seen
I've
some
never
of the
seen it.
promos for the movie, and the cars are pretty awesome. I have
So
to
why is
admit.
this one so expensive? It has jewel-encrusted headlights, because why not? It goes 0 to 62 in 2.8 seconds. Top speed, 240 miles per hour. Here's one for our boy Jay. Limited Bugatti Veyron by Mansory somebody or other. Apparently Mansory takes these super awesome cars and makes them better. 1,200 horsepower. Maxes out at 254 miles per hour.
Wow, that is just stupid fast.
Yep. Coming in at 3 mil, Ferrari has something or other. Sergio.
3 million.
Yeah, well, 3 million. That's nothing. This is cool. I knew I had it on here for a reason. Owners were chosen by Ferrari and invited to be allowed to buy the vehicle. One of the only invite-only vehicles out there.
Wow.
Also, it has aerodynamic headrests, because who doesn't need to drive really fast with the top down?
Of course.
Imagine getting smashed in the face with a bug
At
when
250
this happens.
miles an hour.
Okay, so we have one at 2.6 million, another Ferrari at 2.5, another Bugatti at 2.5.
So go to 10, and I want to see if you and I combined all of our finances, James, if we could buy the number 10.
The Koenig Regera at $2 million.
It's close. So
we're up there with all of our sponsorship money.
Yeah.
Twin turbo 5-liter V8, but also it has a 4.5 kilowatt battery pack because it's a hybrid, because why not? 1,500 combined horsepower? Doesn't seem right, but it is.
Okay.
0 to 60 in 2.8. 0 to 186 in 10.9 seconds. In 11 seconds, you're going 186.
Wow.
And it can reach its top speed of 248 miles per hour in how much time?
30 seconds.
20 seconds.
That's
You can be
close.
going 250 in 20 seconds.
I feel like we should combine our finances, James.
Yeah.
And
I
buy
think
one
so.
of these.
I'm game.
Okay.
Do you have anything quick you want to add to this before we take another break?
Quick.
Like 2 minutes quick.
2 minutes quick. Yes, I would like to list the current top. Now, again, these websites are all. So the current top ones that I could find for 2017, and this is not price. This is not.
This is the Supercars.
This is pure speed.
Ooh.
2017.
I like this.
So the first one is the Hennessy Venom GT. Again,
Like the drink, Hennessy.
I think that's what it is. You have to Google these vehicles that we're talking about. This is probably the most amazing looking of all the recent ones.
They all look the same to me.
No, but this one does, but it's awesome.
Okay.
Looks like a stormtrooper if it was going to be a car.
I like
it looks
that.
like
I'm sold.
It looked like a sleek stormtrooper.
Okay.
270 miles per hour.
What?
The next one is the Bugatti Chiron or Chiron.
Wasn't Big Ben on a Bugatti when he wrecked on the motorcycle, or was that something else?
A motorcycle's a motorcycle. Bugatti's
not
a
a
car.
Bugatti.
He was on a Hayabusa.
Oh, a Hayabusa.
Motorcycle.
Oh, well, there we go.
One of the fastest production motorcycles
Why
out there.
not?
Of course. The Bugatti does.
I just assumed they made bikes too.
No.
No.
It goes 161 plus, and what that plus means is they don't know the top speed. And then the third fastest one that they know the top speed of is the Bugatti Veyron Super Sport, 286 miles per hour. So the reason why the Bugatti Chiron is lower is because they don't know how fast it can go.
Oh, it's just theoretical.
It's
286.
yeah.
Because
So
why not?
Could you imagine? So, okay? Since we're talking top speed, what's the fastest you've ever driven in a vehicle, you as the driver? And hopefully we don't get arrested for this.
I mean, maybe like 10 something. I don't think I've ever gone higher than that. I've hit triple digits in the truck and in a car and in another car, but that's the top max speed.
So my brother had a Pontiac. I forget what it was. It was this supercharged big two-door car. It was a beautiful car, and I had it at 117.
Wow.
It was the fastest I ever went.
I like that because that's like automatic lose your license speeds. You know?
Yeah. Hopefully, can you get arrested like retroactively, like if you admit that you went that fast?
We can just deny it. Say we were just talking it up for the show.
Oh, there you go.
which is what I was doing, officers.
No, mine was legitimately 117.
Let's take a break, Luke. And
Okay.
let's go into this week's Luke's Terrible Engineering.
Yeah, so we're going to keep this related to cars.
Of course, there's a lot of good choices.
There's a lot of good choices. And I think, and I have to go with the obvious. So the worst car, and I'm going to mention 3.
Wow.
So the number 1 car that just never should have been invented was the Ford Pinto.
Okay.
And this was a safety thing. I don't know if you remember, the Pinto was this...
It was one of the ships that Christopher Columbus had, right?
In the Nina, yeah. In the Santa Maria, something like that. Oh, was that your speaker on? How funny. So the Pinto, people would crash into the back of you, and the gas tank was just in the back, and they didn't have any kind of framing around it, and people would catch on fire and blow up. So that's a bad one. So that gets engineering bad. The Aztec is the obvious one everybody goes with.
Oh man, is it awful.
It was so ugly, and
They were basically paying you to take them off the lot by the end.
So, but here's the crazy thing. If you look at certain vehicles nowadays that I like, actually, you can tell there's a little bit of Aztec architecture and styling. So
I feel like the Equinox kind of has a
Yes.
little bit of that in there, or at least it did.
I love the Subaru Crosstrek. That's their small
Yeah.
SUV. It has a little bit of square edges on the back and
You're
in
a
the front.
Subaru guy, though.
I love
you love
Subarus.
Subarus. Everybody who's ever owned a Subaru loves them, I think.
Yeah, they're great vehicles. Thank you, Subaru, and if you want to sponsor us, that'd
Yeah.
be great. But yeah, the Aztec has to get the worst styling you
Oh
could
my goodness.
ever imagine.
Absolutely.
But the utility of it was interesting. These things were all-wheel drive before they were all-wheel drive
Good
crossovers.
tailgating vehicle, right?
Yeah, I mean, great vehicle for tailgating. But yeah, so those are the 2. I said 3, I meant 2. But
You're not good at the maths.
But the interesting thing with the Aztec, again, is if you look at some current vehicles, there's some Aztec styling to them. So was Aztec just ahead of its time?
Wow. We're getting deep here.
Huh.
This is what we do here at Unprofessional Engineering.
I think
is get
Aztecs
deep.
were just ahead of their time.
If you guys have a terrible car that you want to mention, email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com or hit us up on Facebook or the Twitters or something and let us know what awful vehicle we're missing.
Or any other horrible invention you want us to dig
Oh
into.
yeah, we never tell you that.
Yeah.
If there's a horrible invention for us to give a shout out to, we've gotten 1 or 2 in the past. Email
Yeah.
us and let us know.
We will.
Okay, Luke, we're going to finish this thing up here with, how about affordable supercars?
I
Does
didn't
that work?
do that, but I'm interested
Okay,
to
so
see what you got.
So here we go. Affordable supercars. And I'm
Affordable.
going to do air quotes that you can't see. The Dodge Charger Hellcat and the Dodge Challenger Hellcat. So I think there's more of a difference than one's 4-door and one's 2-door, but
yeah.
they're pretty similar. They're about 65,000 or 62,000, 707 horsepower, supercharged 6.2 liter V8. Pretty impressive.
See, I would call that a muscle car.
See, I always thought that they were muscle cars as well, but
Yeah.
they're calling them supercars.
We'll have to
The
agree to
Mustang
disagree.
Shelby,
That's another-
63,000, 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds. I mean, meh. The Camaro ZL1, 61,000, supercharged V8, 650, 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. When I was buying my Silverado, I was looking at a Camaro there as well, just because, you know, you have to kill time while they're doing paperwork.
Yes.
And they were like, oh, we could probably do a package deal where you buy them both. It's like, I don't think that's necessary. The Tesla Model S, 140,000. So again, affordable supercar. 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. Ridiculous. The Corvette Z06, 83,000. 6.2 V8, 0 to 60 in 2.9. That's the fastest, most powerful car that I've ever driven, is a Corvette that smashed me into
You drove a Corvette?
the back
Yeah, I did. I
seats.
remember you telling me about that.
And my brother-in-law will make fun of me because of the way I drive. It's like, I'll be like, nah, I'm not going to pass that car. I'll wait behind him and then pass him. And he's like, oh, that's what it is. That's what they're designed for, is
Yeah.
driving safely. The Cadillac CTS-V sedan. I like that
Yeah.
sedan's in the
They
name.
make some pretty sweet vehicles.
86,000 bucks, V8, 640 horsepower, and it can hit 200 miles per
So
hour.
when you say affordable, basically under 100K is what your affordable
well, apparently
is.
140.
Yeah, sorry.
But yeah, I'm saying 100. Or affordable. 100's about where. Nissan has one for 110.
I love the GTR.
Do you? You like the GTR?
Yeah, it's one of my
Okay.
favorites.
0 to 60 in 2.9, 565 horsepower. Still out of my price range is the note that I made there.
Still out of my price range.
And then there's the Porsche, or is that Porsche?
Porsche.
We need to get that right, by the way.
We do, because we're going to be speaking to someone from Porsche potentially.
Yes. What is it? The Cayman S?
Yeah, Cayman.
66,000. And it's a 4-cylinder. That's a 4-banger.
But you know how they do it?
They have the name.
Turbocharged.
It is turbocharged. So that's my list. I feel like that's the one I would go with. You know, if I'm going to drop 66, I'm going to get the name with it.
Yeah, I agree with you. So the next thing I want to do real quick is, where was it? So I want to make sure that we got the most powerful vehicle.
Okay.
And then I want to talk about my favorite vehicle of all time.
Okay.
So if you had to guess, what horsepower is the most powerful car? It might even be a future car they're planning for, but do you have the most powerful car ever made?
I'm going to go with, let's wait for it.
You don't got it?
I don't. I have
Okay.
like a Bugatti that's pretty
Okay,
high.
so the most powerful vehicle, roughly, is around 1,000 horsepower, 1,500 horsepower.
Yeah.
It's probably a Bugatti Veyron or some customized version of the
Right.
Bugatti Veyron. And there is a company in Dubai that
course.
makes a vehicle called the DeVille 16.
Okay.
And I believe it's supposed to come out this year. It has 4,515 horsepower.
That seems totally necessary.
That is like almost 4 times what a standard, or more than 4 times what a standard Bugatti Veyron is, which is, and you should see the vehicle too. If you get a chance, look it up. It's DEVEL, the DeVille 16.
Ouch.
Amazing.
It just sounds
looking.
like it's going to give me whiplash.
Yeah. So it's absolutely crazy. And then I think the last thing I want to do, and then we can wrap it up, I have to give a little bit of credit to my absolute favorite supercar ever all time. So back in 1965, a guy by the name of Carroll Shelby, so the Shelby Mustang. So this guy was a racer, did all kinds of racing. He took a 427 cubic inch engine, the Ford V8, and put this into a British sports car. So
Okay.
if you imagine like a Triumph, it's a little bit bigger than a Triumph, but if you look up the AC Cobra, it is the most beautiful looking supercar. Now this is a custom supercar, and it could go from 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds, which by today's standards isn't all that fast. And it could go 0 to 100 in 10 seconds.
Wow.
It held the record for acceleration for 20 years. So until like 1985, this car had the fastest 0 to 60 acceleration. And it is by far the most beautiful car ever.
Wow.
In my opinion.
Well, there we go. And again, that's what really matters.
It is, my opinion.
That's right. Wow. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
What do you think about a DeLorean? Is that pretty much a supercar? Because it can travel time.
Definitely, it gets some credit there. So a DeLorean is a supercar, I think, because again,
Custom, small
it's
batch.
custom, it's small batch,
Small
it's
maker,
exclusive.
yep.
They typically have certain styling, aerodynamics, that sort of thing. So I would definitely put a DeLorean in there. Did you have any posters when you were a kid on your walls of cars?
No.
So my poster that I had was a Miami Vice poster, and it was a Lamborghini Countach, and I believe, what were their names? Crockett and Tubbs,
I don't
or
remember.
Crockett and Stubbs?
I'm sure they had pastel shirts on though.
It was Crockett and Stubbs, or whatever the guy's name is. And the Countach had the door open, and they were sitting in the car. it was, and that was on my wall. So the Countach was
There we go.
was
That's
another one of my
one.
favorites.
All right.
So,
I think we should probably call it a day with that.
yeah,
What do
this
you
was
think?
fun. I enjoyed this
I
one.
really enjoyed this one too. I hope you all did as well. If you did, review us on iTunes or write in at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com. Until next time.
See ya.